Welcome to The Facts. I'm Rosalyn Tavanis. Republican Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, has been in the U.S. Senate since 1984, totaling approximately 36 years. In the beginning of his public service, he was known as a pragmatist and a moderate Republican, but in just a few years, he shifted to the extreme right. When President Obama was in office, McConnell did everything to block Republican support for major presidential initiatives. One tactic used by McConnell was the filibuster. His influence blocked most of Obama's judicial nominees. In contrast, McConnell has packed the courts with over 150 right-wing justices, which were Mr. Trump's choices. Even 9 months prior to the end of President Obama's term, McConnell blocked his Supreme Court nominee, which in fact was Obama's right under the Constitution to choose a nominee. During his many terms in office, McConnell criticized legislation proposed by House Democrats, such as the Green New Deal, helping to save the planet and mankind, and the Medicare for All proposal. McConnell refuses to bring these and approximately 300 bills sent from the Democratic House up for a Senate vote. McConnell has been referred to as the most powerful majority leader in at least 30 years. Imagine the lobbyists, favors, political allies, and graft he has accrued over his many terms. This brings me to today's subject, the institution of term limits for all elected officials. There is a Supreme Court case entitled U.S. Term Limits versus Thornton, decided in 1995. The facts are that Arkansas adopted Amendment 73, the Term Limit Amendment. This limited states' elected officials, but also their U.S. senators to 2 terms and U.S. representatives to 3 terms. The question heard by the Supreme Court was, can the states alter qualifications for congressional candidates that are specifically enumerated in the U.S. Constitution? In a 5-4 vote, the court decided this state amendment unconstitutional. In actuality, this amendment did not alter qualifications for candidates, but imposed term limits of the job. In my mind, term limits have nothing to do with qualifications of a candidate. The dilemma here is this. Legislators will never legislate themselves out of a job. In the proposed legislation, the Cruz-Rooney bill, authored by both Senator Cruz and Representative Rooney, this bill advocates for term limits to the U.S. Senate and local legislators. Undeterred by the Supreme Court case of 1995, this legislation wants both local and federal officials to have term limits for all elected positions. It is their opinion that the case of 1995 should and will be challenged. Preventing lifetime legislators like McConnell creates a possibility of change. It is believed such restrictions in state legislators will slow the growth of both spending and taxes. The problem of politics turning into a permanent career is ever worse at the federal level, where legislating is highly professionalized and largely impervious to public influence, let alone control. The proposed legislation would limit senators to 2 6-year terms and representatives to 3 2-year terms. In promoting his legislation, Cruz explained, quote, "For too long, members of Congress have abused their power and ignored the will of the American people." He further states, term limits offer a solution to the brokenness we see in Washington. He cites that this legislation has overwhelming support of the American people. We can give ourselves the power to determine our own destinies and stop these professional politicians from their stronghold of career politics. Support the challenges to your incumbents in your area, which will, in turn, give a fresh view to these seeking their turn to serve you as their constituents. Thanks for watching. I'm Rosalyn Tavanis.